Right now, without doing anything at all, time is speeding up, not literally, but your brain is convinced of it. A year at 10 felt like forever. A year now feels like a long weekend. Something is happening inside your head, and it has nothing to do with clocks. So what is it? Your brain doesn't experience time the way a clock does. A clock counts identical seconds, one after another, forever the same. Your brain counts something else entirely. It counts information, new sights, new sounds, new surprises. And the less new information it receives, the faster time seems to slip past you. Think about your first day at a new job. Every hallway was unfamiliar. Every face was a puzzle to solve. That day felt long, almost exhausting, because your brain was working overtime to record it all. Now think about a random Tuesday 6 months later. You barely remember it. It blurred into every other Tuesday. Why does one day stretch and another disappear? The psychologist Robert Ornstein spent years studying exactly this question, and he proposed something called the storage size theory. The idea is simple. Your brain judges the length of a period of time by how much it had to store about it. A childhood summer gets crammed with new smells, new friends, new skinned knees, new fears. Your brain files away thousands of fresh moments, and so in memory, that summer feels enormous. An adult summer, on the other hand, often repeats itself. Same commute, same coffee, same 14 minor variations on a routine you've already mastered. Fewer new files, a thinner folder, a shorter feeling summer. But storage isn't the only piece of this. There's also proportion, and it changes the math of your entire life. When you were 5, 1 year was 20% of everything you had ever lived. It was enormous. It was practically your whole existence. When you turn 50, 1 year is 2% of your life. Mathematically, it is a smaller slice of a much bigger pie, and your brain, whether you like it or not, seems to measure time this way. Each year gets divided by a larger and larger denominator. Each year shrinks. Is that unsettling? It should be a little, because it means every year forward will, by this logic, feel shorter than the one before it, unless you interrupt the pattern. There's a third piece, and it comes from a physicist, not a psychologist. Adrian Bejan at Duke University approached this puzzle from an entirely different angle. He looked at how your eyes and brain physically process images as you age. When you're young, your neural pathways are fresh, and your brain processes visual information in rapid, frequent bursts. Each burst feels like a new frame of experience. As you get older, those neural pathways accumulate more connections, more signal-carrying distance, and the processing slows down. Fewer frames per second, in a sense. And when your brain records fewer frames, the footage of your life, played back later, feels like it's been sped up. Less footage, faster playback. That's Bejan's explanation, published in a paper examining why the days seem shorter as we age. Here's where it gets strange, though. None of this is really about time at all. It's about attention. It's about how much of your life is spent on autopilot. The neuroscientist Marc Wittmann has spent his career studying what he calls felt time, the subjective experience of duration that has almost nothing to do with a clock on the wall. Wittmann's research points to something surprising. Boredom, oddly, slows a single moment down while shrinking a whole period in memory. And immersion, deep focus, the opposite of boredom, does the reverse. It compresses a single moment while making the whole period feel rich and expansive afterward. That's why a 2-hour hike through unfamiliar terrain can feel like it flew by in the moment, but when you look back on it that night, it feels like it lasted all day. Meanwhile, a 2-hour scroll through your phone feels instant in the moment and completely evaporates from memory the next morning. Which one sounds more like your average week? This is the part that should really bother you. Modern life is engineered, almost perfectly, to produce the second kind of time: repetition, predictability, familiar feeds, familiar routines, familiar rooms. Every convenience that makes your life easier also makes it more forgettable. You commute the same route. You eat variations of the same 5 meals. You scroll a feed algorithmically designed to show you more of what you already like, which means, by definition, less that is new. Your brain, faced with a life full of repeats, does exactly what it evolved to do. It stops recording in detail. It compresses. And compressed time, remembered later, feels like it vanished. Ancient humans didn't live like this. Every day carried real, survival-level unpredictability. Which berries were ripe, where the herd had moved, whether that rustle in the grass was wind or something with teeth. Their brains had no choice but to stay switched on, cataloging constantly. because missing new information could be fatal. Novelty wasn't a luxury for them, it was a requirement for staying alive. And so, ironically, their days likely felt longer, denser, more vivid, precisely because their world refused to repeat itself. You've inherited that same time-measuring brain, but you've built a life almost designed to starve it of the raw material it needs: comfort, safety, and routine. The very things you've worked so hard to build are the same things quietly compressing your years into a blur. So is there a way out of this? Actually, yes. And it doesn't require any of the grand life overhauls people usually suggest. Novelty is the antidote, and it doesn't need to be dramatic. A new route home, an unfamiliar restaurant instead of the usual order, a conversation with a stranger instead of another scroll. Each of these forces your brain back into recording mode. Each one adds density to a day that might otherwise blur into nothing. You don't need a different life. You need a different Tuesday every once in a while, on purpose. Because here's the truth hiding underneath all of this. Time was never actually speeding up. You were slowing down your attention to it. And every ordinary moment you choose to actually notice, really notice, is a moment your brain refuses to compress. It's a moment that gets filed away as real, as lived, as long. Right now, without doing anything at all, you have the choice to make this exact moment last.